Download the app now.
Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. I'm Ahmedabad and this is Game On. It doesn't get bigger than this. After 1.5 months of non-stop action in World Cup 2023, it's time to build up to the all-important final. It's India versus Australia. India are the favourites, having been unbeaten in 10 games, while Australia will go into this final having won 8 games in a row. So we know that this is going to be a cracker of a game between the two best teams of the tournament. This is the Sunday blockbuster that we've all been waiting for a while now. How is Ahmedabad preparing for the big World Cup final? What pitch will be used? Will India look to bat first? Are there any worries for the two teams? We will discuss all of that with Chetan Nirula and Jamie Alter. Guys, 45 days, 47 matches. It's come down to this, India versus Australia. It doesn't get bigger or better than this, given how well both these teams have played. Jamie?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Absolutely. I think every tournament you should have the top two teams there. Top two in terms of skill, you don't have to require luck or other factors. Like I'm saying, the two most deserving teams should be in the final of every tournament. I think we can all agree when one team has won 10 and the other team has won 8, no other team has that record. So you look at the record, you look at the track record, you look at what they've done, you look at the overall quality of cricket. And for Australia to come back from 0-2 down to win 8 in a row to be here, I think we've got the final we deserve. So, yeah, let's get the show going and discuss.
It also doesn't get bigger and better because this is going to be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium, world's largest cricket stadium. Chetan's been there on a few occasions in this World Cup, and every time I've had a conversation with you, Chetan, you've said that it's a different feeling. You were there for the India-Pakistan game. You said it's crazy to see, complete sold-out stadium with a sea of blue. So you have almost 120,000 people in that stadium, right? All cheering for one team. How excited are you about this occasion? Now this is the final.
Hello, Meha. Well, Ahmedabad Stadium, this Motera Stadium was commissioned in 2015, and I remember that specifically because it was supposed to be ready, obviously earlier, but it was commissioned specifically for this occasion that it would host the 2023 ODI World Cup final. They were planning to build the largest cricket stadium in the world, something which could outdo the MCG. They had probably seen it in 2015, the World Cup final at the MCG, 90,000 people there. So this was purposely built to host the 2023 ODI World Cup final and set a new world record. Obviously, there was a world record set when India played Pakistan, more than 100,000 people, almost 120,000 people. But on Sunday, 132,000 people, which is absolutely packed to the rafters. Throughout this tournament, I've told you it's going to be a sea of blue, sea of blue, sea of blue. I think this is going to be an ocean of blue this time, because the way this stadium is built, and every time I go there, it's just humongous. It's just humongous. It's not built in a vertical manner. First it's horizontal, then goes up slant, and then you have the vertical. It's a massive stadium, and it's going to be absolutely packed to the rafters. It's going to be bonkers. Ahmedabad is ready. Hotel prices have shot up 100 times to the kind of room prices that you would normally get. They just don't exist anymore. The whole city is just so vibrant, and everybody is looking forward to this big occasion. And India being in the final obviously makes it even more special. So yeah, can't wait.
Okay, let's take a look at some of those visuals, because what is cricket without its fans, and especially when it's a World Cup final happening in India, with India being one of the finalists. There you'll always see something interesting come up with regards to the fans. So here what you're looking at is a long tricolor flag. Now this is at the airport. I believe as soon as you get to Ahmedabad airport, you'll be greeted with their traditional dance. And it just goes on to show how colorful and vibrant, as Chetan was also saying, the state is and the city of Ahmedabad is. So this is what you'll be greeted with. That's if, of course, if you've been lucky enough to book your flights earlier, because if you're booking them now, it's super expensive. But these are fans arriving at the airport. And you know, the build-up has been such that because India have been so good in this tournament, there was a huge percentage that felt and that was sure that India were going to make it to the final. And that's why a lot of these fans would have bought the flight tickets. They would have been ready. But now that India are there and they are playing a team like Australia, it doesn't get bigger than this. You know, to think that these are two teams that have been at the top of their game, be it India, who've been undefeated in this tournament, or Australia, who won 8 games in a row, and in the manner in which they have won their games. That also just goes on to show that Australia never give up when it comes to a World Cup. So you can imagine the excitement of the fans as they all wait for this game. But let's set this up for everybody. Let's set up the game for you. Like I said, after 45 days and 47 matches, it's time for the biggest game of this World Cup, the final between India and Australia at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on Sunday. Now, India have had a dream run in that not only have they dominated every game that they played, it has been a collective effort for the whole team, with batting and bowling firing on all cylinders. India brushed aside the likes of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Netherlands and Sri Lanka as expected, and even completed a thumping 243-run win over South Africa and Kolkata. The only time they were pushed a little bit was in the semi-finals against New Zealand at the Wankhede. But it's been smooth sailing for the men in blue. Rohit Sharma has been giving them explosive starts. Virat Kohli is the highest run scorer of the tournament. He's played the anchor role to the T. KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, they've been exceptional in the middle order. On the bowling front, their bowlers have been superb. It has been a complete domination by their pacers and their spinners, Bumrah, Shami, Siraj, Jadeja and Kuldeep. They've not needed a sixth bowling option, underlining the fact that they've been superb in all 3 phases of the game. So this is about India. What about Australia? Australia's road to the final. The start was extremely poor. They'd lost 2 matches against India and South Africa, but things got better as the matches went on. Comfortable wins over Sri Lanka and Pakistan steadied the ship, and then Australia didn't look back. Adam Zampa finished the group stage with most wickets, while Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, they got double wicket figures as well. So it's all good for Australia. David Warner, he went past 500 runs in consecutive tournaments. Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh and Marnus Labuschagne, they've been contributing with the bat. Australia will also be buoyed by the fact that they defeated England at the Narendra Modi Stadium by 66 runs in the group stages. 3 of the 4 games now. This is an important one. 3 of the 4 games have been won by the chasing side. So it'll be interesting what the team that wins the toss will look to do. The only exception was the one where Australia ended up defending 282 against England. So much to talk about. Let's get straight into it, Jamie. The big question is now, especially since what happened right before the semi-final, the whole pitch switch controversy. Andy Atkinson, not the most loved guy in India at the moment. Apparently, he's also finally reached Ahmedabad. But eyes will be on the pitch and what the conditions are going to be like. I'm hearing it's the same pitch on which India played against Pakistan. How do you see that panning out for India?
Look, I don't think we're going to have too much discussion around the pitch as opposed to what we saw before that semi-final, because it was a sort of last-minute request or reshuffle, whatever you want to see it. And again, it's not really a concern, I would believe, for a team, the Indian team, which has won 11-0, and Australia, which has won 8-0. I would want to believe whatever's working for them, their techniques, their approach, the opportunity cost which each team is weighing up, they're probably not too considered, having done extremely well on either side to get here. They're probably not going to look too much. And I know there's reports that Ashwin bowled a lot. He batted, he was bowling leg spin, all this. again, I mean, if you're going back to Ashwin, who in the long run we all can agree really shouldn't have been here. He played one match. Did you call him back just because he's from Chennai? That's questions which people are asking because he did not come back in then. I don't see them, despite the lure of what he brings. I think this Indian team is so far removed from October 8th now. It was a terrible start at 2 for 3. They moved so far beyond that. They moved beyond Ashwin. Hardik Pandya's injury. There's a lovely joke going around on social media. Who's the man of the tournament? And the answer is Hardik Pandya because he gave Mohammad Shami to all of us to watch. So I don't think the pitch is going to be that big a deal. Again, I mean that first match, my mind ever since India and Australia got locked in for the Final Four, my mind just wandered back to that first match. And Chetan was there. He'll tell you also. England on course for 315, 320, maybe a little more, kept to, what is it, 282, 283? And then New Zealand chasing it by 9 wickets. Awesome win for New Zealand, but I think it sort of confused a lot of teams. Hey, maybe we should go about chasing in this World Cup. But Ahmedabad on October 5th, was it? And Ahmedabad on November 19th, I think it's going to be very, very different. There's probably going to be a bit for the spinners, but I'm not saying by any regards India should change their team. Both teams, like I've said, they've come so far ahead. Don't change. Everywhere we go, we're asked, should India do this, do that? I've said the same thing. I think Chetan's said the same thing. No need to do anything despite what is. You want to look up, like Chetan says, look up. But I think Ahmedabad is going to be fine in that regard. So don't read into pitches. Don't read into what's happening. Forget Andy Atkinson. Both teams, Pat Cummins, Rohit Sharma, just do what's working for you because we can all agree, whatever it is, it's working brilliantly.
Then it's time for me to end the show. We shouldn't be talking about the pitch. We shouldn't be talking about what changes India should make. But no, I've got
Don't jinx it.
No, I'm not going to jinx it. What I want to though look back on what happened in that first game that New Zealand played against England to the other matches. India, Pakistan, or for that matter, Australia, England. Pitch did slow down considerably, Chetan. As the matches went on. So this is going to be a slower pitch. You are going to get a lot more assistance for spin. Keeping that in mind, how do you see India approaching this game? I agree with Jamie that I don't think they're going to make any changes to that playing 11 because it's too big a game to sort of punt on anything. And the spinners have done a good job. But how do you think they'll be approaching this?
Well, first of all, Andy Atkinson visited the stadium today, and pitch number 5, like you mentioned, the India-Pakistan pitch has been chosen. The moment I saw that news, my mind went to what Rohit Sharma did in that particular game. India was not chasing too much. They were chasing, 190, 200, something like that.
Yeah.
And Pakistan collapsed after the 25th over. So a lot of things happened in that game which were down to the nature of the pitch because it's a rugged pitch, it's a slow pitch. And also, it's an abrasive surface which roughed up the ball. So while the ball was new, in both innings, batting was actually easier. We saw the kind of start Pakistan had. Then Hardik Pandya got you the breakthrough. And then Babar Azam and Rizwan had that partnership for 14 overs. And then India started doing things with the ball when the ball got softer and the abrasive surface came into play. And then Rohit Sharma, against the hard ball, went really, really hard. And he got those runs, of 60 deliveries, again, 85 of 60 balls. And it is something that he highlighted. And he's not done that in any match. But that game, he did highlight that the ball was hard and I wanted to go hard at it and wanted to get those extra runs with the hard new ball and not leave too many runs. They were chasing only 200, but still not leave too many runs for the back end. So this is not the same pitch as England-New Zealand. Let's be very, very clear about that. Maybe on that surface, the ball is coming very well. Even when it is softer, maybe on that surface, chasing is an option. I don't know. But on this surface, I'm pretty sure that chasing is not an option. You would want to bat first. And obviously, when you add the situation, you would want to bat first as it is, because who would want to chase in a World Cup final? Yes, India did it in 2011, but Wankhede, very, very different surface. Sri Lanka, very, very different opponent. Right now, the dynamics are as such that Australia is also a fast starting side. So we have seen them score 300, 350 very, very easily. Do you want to be chasing 350 in a World Cup final? If you look back at 2003, the answer is no. In terms of team personnel, absolutely agree with you. There is no need for change. Who are you going to change and bring in? You can't bring in a batsman. Shubman Gill is absolutely fit, so you can't bring in a batsman. You have to play with Surya Kumar Yadav. In the bowling department, even if you want to bring Ashwin, how can you possibly bring in Ashwin and play with only 2 fast bowlers, unless you want to change out a spinner. So no changes, and hopefully India will bat first, or whichever team wins the toss, bat first.
Okay, now Ravi Shastri, former Indian coach, he has spoken about the final. Let's listen into what he has to say.
India will win the World Cup. They will start as favourites in the final. They played outstandingly well, and they don't have to do anything different. They just have to carry on from where they left in the last few games. I think just being composed and calm and handling and soaking the pressure, because you don't want to be over-excitable just because it's a final. Just what your roles are, and the good thing is, this team doesn't depend on 1 or 2 players. There have been 8 or 9 players performing game after game, so that's a brilliant sign.
Okay, so Ravi Shastri very sure that India is winning the final, and so are the other former players who people have spoken to. But what are the things that India should be wary of when it comes to Australia? I know that they've been they've been on a rampage. They've been winning everything. They've looked good as a team. But come on, it is Australia and it is a final. What is it that India should be wary of? Jamie?
Mitchell Starc, for starters. I mean, I can name you individual people they should be wary about, but I think what they need to be wary about is they're entering territory where they've not been for a long time, right? Who won the World Test Championship this year? Australia. Who did not win it? India, right? Who won the 2021 T20 World Cup when not even Australians were backing this team? Australia. So when it comes to getting to finals, Australia, not just this team, but traditionally, and I know teams change over eras, but you have to see that DNA that I keep talking about. It's in this team. This is Australia's overall 8th World Cup final. India have not even made half of that. So when it comes to winning at the most important stage, Australia are leagues ahead of not just this Indian team, but any Indian team to ever play one-day cricket and T20 cricket. That said, right now, I believe India has the edge. But, Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazelwood said also in Kolkata, we look back at that match. We absolutely failed with the bat. It was a tough pitch. We made 199. But we did have Australia in 2 overs. We had them 3 down for 2 runs. They won the match. Hats off to them. They have every box ticked. But we think if we get them in that pressure again, this time we're not going to, take our feet off their throats. It's a brave statement. It's a bold statement, but it's come from a guy who's had a big role in helping Australia come back from 0-2 to 8 points. So for me, I can name you individuals. Like I said, David Warner, fantastic. Good luck trying to stop him. But it's that ruthlessness which Australia, adopt when they get into these situations. And I hope India have that, because as brilliant as they've been so far, and as cutthroat as Rohit Sharma has been in decision making and in giving those outstanding starts, Shami, Bumrah, Siraj collectively in 3 different levels. First Shami, then Bumrah, and then a distant third Siraj. They've got the job done, but can they hold it together for one final match? I believe they can, but it's Australia. If Australia start to slump, I back them to roar back. It happened, 2 days ago. If India slump, do they have it to come back now? The answer is only with India themselves, not with anybody else.
Chetan, what about you? Do you agree with Jamie, first of all? And secondly, is there something else you think that India should be wary of?
Well, in terms of naming the players, I think more than Mitchell Starc, yes, obviously the left arm angle, probably he is Australia's most successful bowler in World Cups. But Josh Hazelwood, the player, Chennai pitch was pretty similar to the kind of sluggish and slow pitch that we're expecting in Ahmedabad. And who caused damage with the new ball in that innings? That was Josh Hazelwood. He, having played so much, in India in terms of Indian Premier League and obviously other bilateral cricket as well, he knows how to bowl on these surfaces, get that movement under light especially, and he bowls with pinpoint accuracy. There's one thing to bowl short of length with pace and getting smacked. Josh Hazelwood is too clever for that. That's the reason why he's so successful, despite bowling that short of length, but he knows how to vary that length and get the best out of the wicket. So for me, the threatening bowler is Josh Hazelwood and obviously Adam Zampa. But then obviously if you get into the Indian middle order, I back Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul against Adam Zampa any day. I agree with Jamie that this Australian side is very tough to beat. If you find them in tough situations, they will always come back, and they will not give up. India, that New Zealand semi-final when Kane Williamson and Daryl Mitchell were having that partnership for a bit of time, the Indian shoulders drooped. They were like, okay, you know what? Nothing is working. Fielding had gone to pieces. That was the worst passage of play, worst passage of fielding from India in this World Cup. So they'll probably have to guard against those moments. And with the ball, they can actually make a comeback because, it just takes one wicket to change things around, as we saw in the semi-final. What I will say, though, is since 2016, there's only one team that has beaten India in an ODI series on Indian soil. Only one team. And that's Australia. They've done it twice in March 2019 and then earlier this year, March 2023. They're the only team that can upset India on a stage like this, with 132,000 people, a billion watching at home, everybody rooting. I mean, out of 132,000, I expect 132 Australian fans, maybe less. So you can imagine the kind of atmosphere there will be at the Narendra Modi Stadium. Even then, if there is one team in world cricket to defy that, it's Australia.
Which is the other thing about this Australian side, Jamie, is that they have a sense of occasion and they love the pressure that comes with playing a game like the World Cup final. And they've won it so many times. So to think that they are going to be the team that India will be playing against. And they're also one team that really don't get bogged down by fans. I've never heard Australians ever complain about fans. Even here, when they were asked about, what the vibe is going to be, they said, oh, it's going to be a packed stadium and, are we looking forward to it? But that's one team. You've said this as well, right? When they were playing against South Africa at the Eden Gardens, the semi-final, you said, you just see the difference in their body language, in the way they are interacting with the crowds, it's just the way they are inside the circle. Whereas you see, the South Africans, they looked bogged down by that pressure. So in that sense, Australia is that team that any team would be wary of in a final.
Absolutely. And, at Eden Gardens that day, I mean, that was a very good crowd, a very knowledgeable crowd. The great thing, as Chetan will also tell you, the great thing about the Eden Gardens press boxes, though it's a pain to get to on certain days, it's right there. You can actually sit in the stands. And I don't think there's any other ground which makes it so easy to just come down and you can sit in the stands with the fans. You don't have to be just in the press box. While they were loving the David Warner antics and David Warner's the six off Rabada, and then there was one of a no ball, they loved that. They were actually rooting more for South Africa. When Kutsia bowled Josh English, that stadium, almost full stadium, they were backing South Africa. It's not a direct comparison with what they're going to face tomorrow when it's going to be entirely blue. But they knew, go for South Africa, please, this is fine. It didn't matter a jot to them. David Warner, like I said that on the show, David Warner can do his Shivalli dance. He loves it. But when he's batting, right, and he gets out, the roar that emanates when Aiden Markram bowls him first ball, he'd be like, okay, now you're going for the other team. But it doesn't matter then because this is what Australian teams do. I don't know how India would be viewing Australia here. Maybe some people say, oh, they probably would have wanted South Africa because it's a slightly weaker team. I don't believe it, but apparently this is what the common man thinks, the fan thinks. Australia won't be thinking who's there. They know who's there. They're like, we've done this 8 times. We've been here 5 times. We've won. They know the crowd won't be for them. Like Chetan said, probably 30, 40, 50 people in yellow if they're lucky. But Australian teams don't really care about that. And Mitchell Starc came that day after the match. As you can expect, there were more questions about India than actually about the match, which he played a big hand in winning both with the ball and with the bat. He knew about it. He's been here. This is not his first rodeo. And he just said, India is great. We're looking forward to it. They're very calm when they go into these big things. And as brilliant as India have been, we've heard about fashion shows and the mood inside the team. Hats off to every single person, non-players who've done a job to keep India in that very happy, very secure bubble before the World Cup, Asia Cup. We here on this show are talking about, about the receptionists at the concierge, the bus drivers, the airport people. They'll all be asking India. They've done so well to keep that out. It's one more day. If they can match Australia mentally, nobody can stop India.
Which is the other thing about this Australian side, given how they reacted to the whole Bairstow controversy and how they were the most hated people in England at that time for those matches. And if you looked at the team, they just didn't care. Whole of England could say whatever they wanted to. And in fact, I think they were getting more worked up by it than actually the Australians, who just went about their business and in the end, kept the urn. But let's listen into the original finisher of international cricket, Michael Bevan. What does he have to say about this big final? And there's also another bite from former New Zealand captain Ross Taylor. Listen into both these gentlemen and come right back.
At the moment, India will probably sense that Australia is not quite as good as chasing team as what they need to be. And so perhaps I think both teams will want to bat first, obviously. As an Australian, I'm very proud to see the Australian cricket team make another World Cup final, and after such a slow start to the tournament, they've come back tremendously well. There's been some great individual performances, and they've played some really tough cricket. So, obviously I'd like to wish them the best of luck, and it's always a pleasure watching, a team like India, how they're playing, and, how in control of their game they are. And so, I'm really looking forward to watching the final.
I think India are going to be the favourites. Have played fantastically well and consistent throughout this whole campaign. But Australia, probably the best two teams are in the final. I think Australia won 8 in a row and they're going in the right direction. But I think India must be favourites leading into. They know the conditions. They played well, and then the crowd. I mean, 120,000. It's a fantastic arena, and I'm sure that will play a part. But you never count out Australia. They're always a very good team, and it should be a great contest on the 19th. Finals are all about enjoying yourself and expressing your talent. The Indian team have been doing that with spades throughout this whole tournament to date. So, no, I think they don't need to do anything differently. Just continue on with that same momentum and same mindset that they've gone in with so far. Rahul Dravid's a class coach, and I think these games are all about staying in the moment and not getting too far ahead of yourself. And I'm sure they've played enough cricket and big games to understand that.
So we were talking about how power plays here will be important, given that both these teams would want quick starts because it does tend to get slower as the innings go on. In that sense, how important is it for Rohit Sharma? And we've seen him do this time and again in this World Cup, Chetan. But the importance of Rohit Sharma getting off to a good start on what will possibly be a slow, sluggish wicket.
Absolutely, there's no doubt. I think the game will be won in the first 10 overs of both innings. I think a lot will depend on how the two sets of openers are going to do. Shubman Gill came in the press conference after the last semi-final, and he spoke about that. I'm always watching when Rohit is playing. I don't get to play a lot of deliveries when he's playing. I'm just watching when he's hitting 4s and 6s, which shows that India has been dependent on Rohit Sharma completely for its fast starts. Among batsmen who've played 10 matches or all 9 league games, he has a strike rate of 124. No opener in the World Cup has a higher strike rate than him, except Travis Head, who's played 5 games, including the semi-final, and his strike rate is, I think, 140 or something. So it's going to be a huge clash between the two openers. There's also David Warner. So David Warner scores at around 110 throughout the tournament, and he's, like Rohit Sharma, played 10 matches. So there's Travis Head and David Warner. So is there pressure on Shubman Gill to kind of support Rohit Sharma, change gears perhaps in the first 10 overs, or continue the way he does, where he is not in the exact anchor mode like Virat Kohli, but he's also taking his time, biding his time. And then after the first 10 overs, or when Rohit Sharma gets out, then he really kicks on. So I think there's going to be a bit of a discussion in the Indian dressing room as to what Shubman Gill should do while Rohit Sharma is going great guns. Wait for him to finish off what he's doing, or, just try and support him like David Warner supports Travis Head. So from that aspect, I think the first 10 overs for both sides is going to be very, very important. The other thing that Australia perhaps does better than India is that they have Mitchell Marsh at number 3. And yes, Virat Kohli is Virat Kohli. There are very few question marks that can be asked of Virat Kohli now. He's at that particular level. But his strike rate in this World Cup has been a bit of a dampener. Yes, he's doing a different role, but what I'm trying to say is Australia have 3 batsmen at the top who like to hit, and hit. Mitchell Marsh is also 110 plus in terms of his strike rate in this tournament, especially when he was opening. And it's not gone down when he's come to number 3. So the anchoring role, the accumulation role is left for Steve Smith and Labuschagne, who bat and 4 and 5. So the top 3 for Australia, they go all out. That is a big difference, where India has Rohit Sharma and maybe Shubman Gill in its top 3 to go all out. India has changed its tactic in terms of going hard at the start, but not entirely. It's just one batsman who's providing that fast start. So, like I said, I think for me, the game will be not entirely decided, but at least it will hand who has the upper hand, in the first 10 overs of both innings. That's going to be very, very decisive.
So if we talk about India versus Australia in a final of a World Cup, we have to also look back on 2003 when a billion hearts were broken. I'm sure you guys have stories of how that was given, how good India were in that tournament with Sachin Tendulkar playing beautifully, and yet India ended up being on the losing side. As much as I loved Ricky Ponting, I also hated him that day in the way he completely destroyed India. Any stories you want to share with us, Jamie?
Yeah, look, obviously that's a day which is obviously very, very, I won't even say bittersweet, because nothing really went well for India. I mean, I remember I was, like I mentioned before in one of the other shows in regards to this, it was a final year college, your mind is going everywhere, but you want this team to do well. They've done so well. They lost to Australia in their first match, and then they put together that win of 8 or 9 matches. They came into the final. You knew it's Australia, defending champions. A lot of us sort of said, what the hell is Ganguly doing when he chose to field? He had merit. I mean, Zaheer Khan, Srinath, Nehra, they done really, really well, but it's a World Cup final, and it's Australia. I was looking at the scorecard. I'd forgotten. Matthew Hayden was not the one who was as bullish. His strike rate was about 54, 55. Adam Gilchrist was the one who went berserk. I remember Sehwag took his catch. Now, normally when a partnership is broken, you celebrate. Most of us are like, "Abey yaar, ab to Ricky Ponting aayega." And what happened? I actually had so much to drink that I sort of faded away when Ricky Ponting hit that one-handed 6 off Ashish Nehra. And I said, I knew it was done a long time ago. So I didn't watch the last few overs. I didn't see Damian Martin, I think he got 89. So I was done. I was sort of roused and told, come on, let's watch the chase. I said, there's nothing to watch. This is no one, 359 for 2, no one chased that back in 2003, I watched the first 3 wickets. When the 4th wicket went, I just went back to what I was drinking, and I woke up the next day, and I never actually watched the last 6 wickets fall because it was just too hard to watch it. So, but I'll say something else very briefly. The Times of India, to try and boost the spirits of many people, on April Fools, put out a fake news story back in the day, pre-fake news, saying that Brett Lee had bowled a no ball and the World Cup was being, they were recalibrating things and it would be handed over to India. For about 5 seconds, I actually fell for it. Then I realized this is just TOI doing a April Fool's joke.
Worse. So that's worse. I don't know what's worse, the fact that India lost, or the fact that they made you believe even for a second that there could have been that. Oh, that's horrible.
5 seconds. Yeah.
Chetan, you were there, right? Did you say you were there?
No,
you weren't. You were in college.
I was younger than Jamie. He was in the final year. I was in the first year, although I was not drinking as much. Look, I remember that day, it was a Sunday, obviously, and my late father, he said that let's go to the club and watch the game. And I was like, okay, sure. And we had a plan to go and watch in the evening, especially with India batting. So now they got 359, and I was like, do we really want to go? And he was like, no, let's go. It'll be fun, family outing. We'll still watch the cricket. And, my dad never really watched cricket. He started watching cricket because of me during that World Cup. He said, no, let's go. It'll be a family outing and all. I was like, okay, sure. And then we were getting ready. And by the time we got ready, Sachin Tendulkar got out. And then I was like, okay, we're not going anymore because this game is done.
But see, that's a good thing. So much has changed. It took us some time, but so much has changed. You can never think that Australia will dominate India like that now.
Oh, you'll be surprised. if there's one team that can dominate India, like I
No,
said, the
no,
only
not
team
this
to win
team.
bilateral ODI series in India since 2016 is Australia. So look, I mean, yes, India is on a high, but to say that Australia can't beat India tomorrow, I think that would be foolish. If I have to tell a story, I think it'll be 2011. I was at the old Motera. The crowd was berserk. I mean, that ground was built vertically, and it was very shaky, very old ground. And every boundary that Yuvraj hit and Suresh Raina was there complimenting him. So that was a special knock. The fans were really dancing and jumping up and down, and the whole stand was shaking. Yeah, that was a great day. That was a great game. Yuvraj Singh, not many people can do what Yuvraj Singh did that day. So yeah, great game of cricket. And I hope it doesn't go as deep as somebody like a Yuvraj Singh. You need somebody like a Yuvraj Singh to save India. But yeah, I think a good game of cricket is what we hope for tomorrow.
Okay, let's also talk about how the Narendra Modi Stadium is preparing for this show, the big show we're calling it, on Sunday. So there are a lot of things that are lined up. I don't have a lot of details about it. Chetan can help us with that, but there is a full closing ceremony. Chetan, do you have more details about it? Yes.
Yeah, so all World Cup winning captains have been invited,
Yes.
who are alive and well, apart from Imran Khan, obviously. I don't know if they've sent an invitation to him. He can't make it. That's what I'm trying to say. So all World Cup captains have been invited.
Yeah, I don't think he would have got special permission from jail. Come on.
I'm told Narendra Modi will be there. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be there, and I think some Australian dignitaries are arriving as well. So they'll have the same sort of a cart that they had, the golf cart chariot thing that they did for the India-Australia Test match. So probably with the winning captain. And then obviously the fleet of Surya Kirans, which is immediately after the toss. So while we will be doing our preview show tomorrow, we'll be having a lot of noise from these aircrafts.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a song and dance show during the first drinks break in the first innings. I'm not very sure whether that's a good idea. There's going to be a laser show in the second innings drinks break, which is still okay. Although Glenn Maxwell is not a fan of those blinking lights. But during the innings break, I think there's a bit of a dance performance from some of the pop stars, current pop stars. So yeah, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be crazy tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward. The most I'm looking forward to is the fleet of Surya Kiran fighters. It's absolutely wonderful to watch them.
And I think that's the training yesterday of
even today they trained. Yeah, even today they had a fly past. I think just an hour.
So
half an hour back before we started our
show. This is a long drawn out thing. This the festivities at the Narendra Modi Stadium. There's a pre-match air show. You were seeing visuals of that, which will begin at 12:30 p.m. So that's an acrobatic air show by the Indian Air Force, and they have this acrobatic team, Surya Kiran acrobatic team. They'll be performing. Then mid innings there'll be parade of champions and musical performance. That's where, as Chetan was mentioning, World Cup winning skippers Clive Lloyd, Kapil Dev, Alan Border, Arjuna Ranatunga, Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting, Tony, Michael Clark, Owen Morgan. They'll all be featuring in that parade. Then there is a second innings drinks break, which is light and laser show, which will be at around 8:30 p.m. And then there's a post-match fireworks and crowning of champions from Sky, which will be. So, yeah, lots of celebrations and, like I said, lots of things lined up for this big final. Just coming back to tactically what India and Australia will look to do. The key moments where this match can be won or lost. I would think, given that this pitch is going to be that slow, Jamie, it'll come down to how the Aussie batters tackle Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav. And especially if, there's one bowler they'd want to really target. Who do you think it'll be? Will it be Jadeja or someone like a Kuldeep Yadav?
I mean, good luck trying to target Ravindra Jadeja. You might get 1-4, you might get one streaky 6. If you have to pick one bowler who you would back them to target, it would be Kuldeep because, he's slower and he's there to take wickets. Jadeja would love wickets and he had taken wickets, but his job is, if wickets aren't coming, he's just going to make it very, very tough for you to score runs off him. He's one of those 10 overs, 45, 47, 50, on a bad day. So he's got a certain job. They tried to take on Kuldeep Yadav in Chennai. It didn't work. I remember he bowled Glenn Maxwell right through the gate. But that's Glenn Maxwell, right? We saw him 2 days ago, what he does. When he's brilliant, he's brilliant. When he's poor, he's poor. Again, I think Smith and Labuschagne, if they both play this match, I don't know what their combinations are going to be. Is Stoinis going to play? Is Green going to come back? I don't know. Let's assume that Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith play. India need to get that pair at the crease as soon as possible. They're a dangerous pair. They should have finished that chase at Eden Gardens. They didn't do it. Both of them played horrendous shots. But if you want one pair, despite the threat of them batting out overs, they're not going to give you an explosive finish. Mitchell Marsh, like that he's a danger batsman. Glenn Maxwell, by the law of averages, after his last match, should do something against India. But to my mind, the sooner you get Labuschagne and Smith at the crease, for me, that's very, very good. I understand the threat of what they do when they bat deep, but I'm willing to say in a final, if India can keep them the longer their chance of keeping them, that is, if India is fielding first, to a gettable total. Beyond that, like we said, don't need to change any tactics. You know your 5 bowlers. You know your 6th bowler will be Virat Kohli. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Chetan rightly brought up the point that they're going to have to discuss what is Shubman Gill's role going to be. I think the sample size from that second Asia Cup match against Pakistan right to the last match, it's a very varied sample size. There have been times when Shubman Gill has matched him. There's been times when he's gone beyond him. There's been times like what you said, मुझे कुछ करना नहीं है, वो सारी गेंदें खेल रहे हैं. There's been times when he's played the anchor. Very, very interesting. I would love to see him sort of go back and forth. Maybe Rohit takes 2 big overs and then maybe Rohit sits back and watches Shubman Gill go. Because Shubman Gill, he can do that. He's playing in Ahmedabad. If there's one ground where you can say कि लड़का यहाँ पे century मारेगा, it is Ahmedabad. So let's hope he at the age of 24 does fall back on all the motion memories he has of batting here. I would prefer him not to sort of go back in his shell because that's not his natural game. And this team, let's face it, this team has very specific roles. They know what Rohit Sharma's role is. They know what Virat Kohli's role is. He's the anchor. They know what Shreyas Iyer's role is. Get set. You don't need too many balls to get set. Attack the spinners. And then his teeing off record is just amazing, So I just hope, yes, Chetan's right. They will have that discussion. But I hope they don't say, get Shubman, pas ye karna. Keep it a bit fluid because when he gets going, we saw in Bangalore, when he gets going, he looked like getting far more runs than Rohit Sharma. So it's a lovely problem for them to have, if we're going to call it a problem. But overall, like I said, the sooner you get into Australia's middle order, better chance for you to win that final.
You spoke about how this is a ground that Shubman Gill likes to bat on, given that he plays for Gujarat Titans. There's another Gujarat Titan man who will be, who'll be someone that all eyes will be on. To think that Mohammad Shami, he had to sit on the sidelines for 4 games during this tournament, to now seeing him lead the wickets tally with 23 at an average of 9.3. Each match that he's played, Shami has been India's enforcer, be it chasing on good starts from Jasprit Bumrah and finishing out matches at the death, or as we saw in the semi-final against New Zealand, coming back in the middle overs to turn an innings on its head. Shami, he's been excellent with the cricket ball in his hand, that he went past Zahir Khan and Javagal Srinath's World Cup mark of 44 wickets was apt, given his potency in 2019 and 2023. But what Shami achieved in Mumbai at the Wankhede Stadium put him in elite company in that semi-final. The fastest to 50 World Cup wickets and the first Indian to take 7 wickets in ODI cricket. In taking 7 for 57 to earn the Player of the Match award, Shami also became the 5th bowler in World Cup history to take 7 in a match. So, truly, Hardik Pandya's loss has been India's gain in this World Cup, and I'll be interested to see what he does at that stadium. Chetan?
Absolutely. I think he'll have to perform a very, very crucial role. You asked about what would be, where the game would be won and lost. Like I mentioned, the first 10 overs will be very, very important. And India do have Mohammad Siraj, who's not had the best of times in this tournament. Even in the last game, he was struggling a bit. And then you have to fall back on Mohammad Shami to give you control. Now, this is where it's very important what Ravichandran Ashwin did in Chennai and what India were missing in the game against Pakistan. They did not have that control after the first 10 overs or after the first 8 overs. So if Australia get to a quick start in the first 5-6 overs and then Shami comes in first change, that is going to be probably the definitive passage of play. The kind of control, we know that he can take wickets, there's no doubt. He bowls to take wickets. He does not bowl to contain. That is the thing about Shami. He does not bowl to contain. So, and he looks to take wickets with the new ball. So for me, 6th over onwards, when Shami comes on to bowl, that's probably going to define how the Australian innings is going to pan out. Australia, no. Bumrah and Shami, you see them through, then there are definitive weaknesses with this Indian bowling attack with just the 5 bowlers. So I think pace is going to be more vital than spin tomorrow. I think for both sides, it's going to be one Hazelwood and Pat Cummins, the kind of bowling they do, and Shami and Bumrah in terms of bowling. So the first 20 overs in each innings, where the first 10 overs you really go for it, and the next 10 overs you consolidate, and you have the likes of Hazelwood, Cummins, and Shami and Bumrah bowling in those 20 overs. I think that's where the game will be won and lost.
Okay, time for us to wrap this up, but there is so much excitement now to think that India and Australia, 2 of the best teams in the final, will be playing at the Narendra Modi Stadium, world's largest cricket stadium. Imagine, as Chetan said, an ocean of blue. There are festivities planned for the day. It's going to be an absolutely blockbuster Sunday for all of us. So yes, after 45 days, 47 matches, here we are, India versus Australia. We'll be back tomorrow just before the game. That's it from us, Jamie and Chetan. Thank you so much for joining us here. News9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Israel at War. The big coverage only on News9 Live. News9 big coverage of 5 assembly polls. Mandate 2023.
This is the largest attack that the Hamas has ever done onto Israeli soil.
Within 20 minutes, more than 3,000 missiles were fired at Israel, along with vehicle-transported incursions.
Their main aim is only to finish the Hamas network. Main lifeline of Hamas, that is the tunnel, Hezbollah is also their main target.
You can kill a leader or 2 leaders or 10 leaders, it may delay their functioning for some time.
Most of the Hamas leadership who have been mastermind of all these things.
And last 10 years, $1 billion has gone into, brought in by this leader which sits in there. So every leader has its own role to perform.